In the spirit of this community conversation and welcoming diverse perspectives, we've connected with these two activists from Humboldt for Palestine who've agreed to read two short prepared statements. So I want to welcome Genevieve first, and then Gigi will go afterwards before we turn.
I just did this on half hour's notice, just so you know. Okay, I'll just begin. On this unceded Wiyot land, at a time when missing and or murdered Indigenous loved ones continue to be ignored by so-called public safety officers, sometimes the rest of us, and when Native studies and Native housing is being stripped of funding, after CPH did use the notion of supporting Native community to obtain Cal Poly status, I reiterate local and national student demand for CPH and CSU-wide divestment from occupation, which is criminal, illegal settlements, more than 700,000 illegal settlers on Palestinian land, ethnic cleansing, and now it's genocide, and if you want to be technical, it's plausible genocide by the law in a case that is going at a snail's pace during annihilation. Divest from all arms manufacturers tied to the death, destruction, and remember, ecocide, which affects all of us. So do that in Palestine and anywhere else. We are 76 years into US-backed apartheid Israeli dispossession, occupation, the ethnic cleansing, and now genocide of the indigenous Palestinian people on their own land. Albert Einstein warned the world in 1948, and it's published in the New York Times if you'd like to read it, that murderous Zionist terror gangs, which went on to establish apartheid Israel and become its leaders on top of Palestine, they were replicating Nazism and fascism. 1948 is the same year the apartheid regime was established. Anyone know? South Africa. Under international law, apartheid has one mandate. Did you know? Dissolve. Through a diversity of tactics, struggle, armed resistance even, Nelson Mandela was released from prison, and finally, apartheid was dissolved in South Africa in the 1990s. Only recently did the US government take him off the terror list. Please remember that. Please internalize that when you hear terrorist. Mandela famously said, quote, "Our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians." Yes. End quote. Prior to last year, polls asked Palestinians what a solution looks like to them. Overwhelmingly, and these have sources, they answered, one state with right of return honored and equal rights for everyone. Yes. The World Court, slow as it is, sometimes a colonial tool as it is, even it could not deny and recently made clear the apartheid state of Israel on top of Palestine must be dissolved and a new state restructured from scratch. Don't know if you knew that. The World Court has also made clear that the Boycott, Divest, and Sanction Campaign, BDS, everyone say it? BDS! Must become the law of the land everywhere! Look it up! That's why the US and Israel are having a pressure campaign and are intimidating them and threatening them. You likely know that the US war on the Vietnamese people who took up armed resistance was met with years of US protest and public outcry. Here, in a country built by kidnapped enslaved people on stolen native land, massacres like My Lai and others managed to rock the consciences of Americans. Yet asked later, decades later, how many Vietnamese do you think were actually killed? Americans responded 100,000. The official U.S. number is 2 million. Political theorist Noam Chomsky says the real number is between 3 and 4 million. Many, many children. James Baldwin said they're all our children. Yes. Do you agree? Do you know how many have been killed from U.S. aggression just since 9/11 in the Southwest Asia and North Africa areas that colonial Euro-Americans call the Middle East? It's over 4 million. Look it up. Just lost my place, I'm sorry. Now the U.S. military outpost there on top of Palestine is carrying out its campaign of annihilation on its indigenous. We saw that Greater Israel map, the old Zionist slogan of from the Euphrates to the Nile, or whatever it's, taking from Iraq, taking from Syria, taking from Lebanon, taking from Egypt. It is land theft of the indigenous people. It is our job, therefore, as Americans paying for this slaughter in your paycheck. Your taxes are funding this slaughter, and it is a sadistic slaughter, one that I hope will rock your consciousness, and don't be afraid of that because it is not okay for you to look away. Let it move you. It is our job to resist. It is our job to educate ourselves for appropriate resistance and to support Palestinian resistance like South Africa. Speaking for myself, raising 3 Palestinian children who, yes, have been called terrorists, yes, have been watched watermelons be broken in front of them, being told to get out, right here in Eureka, over there in Eureka, in their schools, being told their people deserve, or they should all die because it's God's plan. Being told that saying that makes people tired, their school, who are in charge. I ask that this community not allow the degradation of your own humanity. Don't let states, which do not have the right to resist, do not let them dehumanize people who have a right to resist and to resist their own annihilation. I'm almost done. I read this account online. My husband was on the phone with a friend, quote, who was from Gaza. My husband made a comment about this all being a test. It's just a test. The man from Gaza said, well, it's not a test for us. We already passed. This is a test for the rest of the world. One more quote from an American mother. She said, quote, I cannot stress enough how important it is to wake up every morning and insist that we live in a world where children are not airstriked at their playground. Are not airstriked at their playground. A target where children are a target. Israel has done that, and it isn't just this last year during the genocide. It has done that before. Those are documented sources you can look up, end quote. They are counting on our fatigue and hopelessness. We cannot let them win. Already, final paragraph. It is reported by medical journals, by writers, and Ralph Nader, take with what you will, they are documented, detailed sources, because it's not just the people who are shot at, directly bombed, etc., exploded. It is the people who died because cancer centers aren't there, diabetes centers aren't there, they died from injuries, etc. later. They're under the rubble, and they know that they're dead, but they were counted, identified.
Shot in their hospital beds.
Shot execution style in their hospital beds. Grandmothers, 4% are elderly. Why? Because some of them still have the key to their homes from the Nakba. Already 7 to 22% of the total population of Gaza, which started out at 2.3 million, already 7 to 22% have been killed since 10/7. It is the quickest acceleration of death we've seen in modern times. And I want you to know something. We are 345 million here in America. That's the equivalent, 7 to 22%, of 24 to 75 million dead. It is ongoing and it must be stopped. It violates the Geneva Conventions, international laws, U.S. labor laws. Demand an arms embargo now. Don't let them win. It will take all of us standing up, educating ourselves, and resisting and supporting Palestinian resistance. Whatever that looks like, by any means necessary. Free Palestine, decolonize everywhere, land back. Our survival as a species requires it, and so does the saving of our humanity.
Hi everyone, thank you for giving me the opportunity to just take a moment. I wrote this question earlier, intended to be part of the Q&A, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it now. This question is for every single person here today. I remember weeping when we began to learn about the European Holocaust of Jews in grade school. I came home with so many questions, especially for my grandparents. Did you know this was happening? What did you do? Why didn't people stop it? The youth, you must understand, have clear eyes to witness injustice. They don't accept arguments of nuance or false claims of ancient religious tensions. They clearly identify right and wrong, just and unjust, and call it by name. I truly believe that is because the youth have been educated so deeply about the Holocaust that we can so clearly identify and take action against the Holocaust of Palestinians by Israel. So my question to you is, what will you say to your children and your grandchildren when they learn of the genocide of Palestinians? What will you tell them when they look you in the eyes and ask you what you did to stop the first genocide in history to be live streamed and witnessed in real time by the entire world? Will you tell them you justified the atrocious acts of white supremacist, colonial, imperialist regime under the guise of Holocaust trauma or 2,000-year-old ties? Will you tell them you attended a dinner and discussion about both sides while Israel is starving Palestinians to death? Will you tell them you condemned disruptive direct action because it made you uncomfortable or it was inconvenient? What have you done to stop this genocide? What have you done to reject the normalization of mass war crimes, apartheid, ethnic cleansing, and genocide in the name of safety for Jews over others? What have you done to absolve yourself on your own judgment day? What have you laid on the line? In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. Well-intending people who do nothing are exactly how genocides are allowed to happen. What will you say to your God and your grandbabies on your judgment day? If you'd like to know more about how you can become more civically engaged for Palestine on a local level, please, I invite you to come speak with me outside the event after it's over, or reach out to us on Instagram at Humboldt for Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Genevieve. Speaking personally, I appreciate you challenging